I always believed that family was supposed to be a safe place, the one circle in life where you didn't have to prove your worth. But the day my younger sister, Sienna, took everything I'd worked for, I realized how dangerously naive I'd been. I'm 32, a marketing strategist in a big coastal city, and for almost a decade, I'd helped build my family's boutique hotel business from a small three-room guest house into a well-known seaside retreat. I created the branding, the partnerships, the campaigns that put us on the map. Everyone in town knew it. Everyone except my own blood. My parents always had a soft spot for Sienna. She was the golden child, the pretty one, the charming one, the one who could mess up and still leave the room with applause. I never envied her, not until I learned what she had been doing behind my back. It started with little things. Whispers dying when I entered a room. Mom asking strange questions about my schedule. Dad checking financial reports I'd already submitted, as if expecting mistakes. I brushed it off. I trusted them. Then one Thursday morning, everything collapsed. I arrived at the family villa, our headquarters, for what I thought was a standard board review. Instead, I found my parents sitting stiffly at the long wooden table and Sienna beside them, pretending she wasn't the one who orchestrated the entire scene. Her fake innocence always irritated me, but that day it cut straight to my bones. My father cleared his throat. "Claire," he said, not meeting my eyes, "we've reviewed some things and we believe it's best if you step away from the company for a while." I blinked, stunned. "Step away? What are you talking about?" That's when Sienna slid a folder across the table, her nails painted a sharp, glossy red. "We found irregularities in your budget reports," she said softly, as if she cared. "Dad asked me to help analyze them." "It's serious, Claire." "Serious? Irregularities?" I stared at the documents. The signatures were mine. The dates were correct. But the numbers? They were manipulated, inflated, rearranged, doctored. Someone had tampered with them to make it look like I'd been funneling money. I looked at her, and in that moment her mask slipped, just for a second. A glint of triumph shimmered in her eyes. "You set me up," I whispered. She tilted her head, feigning confusion. "Why would I ever do that?" She knew exactly why. Because for the first time in our lives, I was finally getting recognition. Investors respected me. Our staff trusted me. People said I should take over operations one day. And my sister couldn't stand living in my shadow. My mother sighed heavily, as if she was the victim in all this. "Claire, we just need some time to figure things out. Your sister will take over the upcoming expansion project until we sort this mess out." Her? Taking my project? My jaw clenched, but I forced myself to stay calm. "You're making a mistake," I said quietly. "And one day, you'll see exactly what she's done." But they didn't listen. They didn't want to. Within 48 hours, I was temporarily relieved of my duties. My access to company accounts was revoked. Staff were told I was taking a personal break. It felt like exile, and Sienna made sure everyone saw it that way. She started posting photos from meetings, lunches with partners, project discussions, all things I used to lead. And every caption was a little knife to my ribs. "Finally stepping up. Ready to take the company to the next level. Dad's right hand." I could have confronted her. I could have fought harder. But I knew I needed one thing more than revenge: proof. And that's when fate handed me my first clue. A week after the suspension, one of our long-term suppliers called me by accident. He apologized for the confusing invoices that Sienna had asked him to backdate, the same invoices she'd used to frame me. My heart hammered in my chest. I asked him to send me everything. He hesitated but eventually agreed. When I opened the files, my hands trembled. The dates didn't match. The signatures weren't mine. And several invoices were issued on days I wasn't even in the city. It was the first crack in her perfect scheme, and the moment I realized I was done playing the quiet, obedient daughter. Sienna had taken my place. But she had no idea what I was about to do next. Because for the first time in my life, I was ready to burn bridges and rebuild something better on the ashes. I didn't sleep the night I received those invoices. I sat on my apartment floor with my laptop open, surrounded by piles of files I'd managed to rescue before they revoked my access. Every detail I'd ignored before now screamed at me. Every odd glance, every hushed conversation, every time Sienna asked about budgets, she had no reason to see. She'd been planning this for months. By sunrise, I wasn't the same woman I had been the day before. Hurt had turned into clarity. Betrayal had sharpened into purpose. And fear, well, fear had become fuel. But I knew one thing. If I went straight to my parents with the evidence, they'd defend her. They always did. Sienna could burn the house down, and they'd blame the wind. So, I needed a strategy, a real one. And that's when I made the decision that changed everything. I wasn't going to fight for a place in a family that had never chosen me. I was going to rebuild my future without them, and then expose the truth so publicly they couldn't deny it even if they tried. The first step was getting distance. I packed my bags and left the city for a small lakeside cottage I'd rented once for a weekend getaway. It was quiet, secluded, and most importantly, mine. The moment I stepped inside, the air felt different.
No expectations.
No pressure. No sister lurking behind corners. Just me, and the plan forming in the back of my mind. I set up a little office near the window and began reconstructing the timeline. Every doctored invoice. Every suspicious transaction. Every email Sienna accidentally copied me into months ago. Piece by piece, I was building a case, not just against her, but against the entire system my family had created to protect their golden child. 2 days into my stay, someone knocked on the cottage door. When I opened it, I nearly dropped my mug. It was Mason, one of our senior accountants. Tall, quiet, always observing more than he said. We'd worked together for years, though not closely. He looked uncomfortable, shifting from foot to foot. "Claire," he said softly, "I heard what happened, and I thought you should know something." My heart dropped.
Come in.
He stepped inside, glancing around my temporary refuge. I didn't believe it. Any of it. "You're the most ethical person in that company." I felt a sting behind my eyes, not from sadness, but relief. Someone finally saw me. He took a breath. "Sienna's been asking for access to reports she shouldn't touch. She told your parents it was approved. It wasn't. And last week, she offered me a promotion if I could clean up some things for her." My stomach tightened. "And did you?" His eyes met mine.
No.
"And that's why I'm here." He handed me a flash drive. Everything she changed. Everything she altered. And a recorded conversation she didn't know I captured. My fingers trembled as I took it. "Mason, why are you helping me?" He hesitated, then said, "Because someone needs to tell the truth. And because you deserve better." His sincerity hit me harder than expected. For months I'd felt invisible. But here, in this small cottage, someone finally saw how deeply I'd been wronged. After he left, I plugged the drive into my laptop. File after file confirmed what I already suspected. Sienna hadn't just framed me. She was quietly redirecting funds to a separate account. An account with her name on it. My parents had no idea. She wasn't just taking my place. She was preparing to take the entire company. I leaned back in my chair, my breath steadying, and for the first time since this nightmare began, I felt powerful. She wanted to play dirty?
Fine.
I was done holding back. My comeback started in a place no one expected, in a quiet lakeside town where no one knew my family name. I applied for a temporary consulting position at a local startup. They hired me in 2 days. And just like that, I wasn't the suspended daughter anymore. I was Claire Sinclair, consultant, a woman rebuilding herself from the ground up. Within a month, I had clients reaching out, asking for branding help, marketing strategies, event planning, all the things I'd mastered over a decade.
People appreciated me.
Trusted me, valued me, and I felt a different kind of strength growing inside me. But while my life moved forward, Sienna was busy posting photos from her expansion project. She looked radiant in every one, smiling like she hadn't stolen my future. But she didn't know something. I had the evidence. I had the leverage. And soon, I would have the perfect moment to strike. And that moment came faster than expected. Late one evening, I received an email from a journalist known for exposing corporate scandals. He'd heard, somehow, that there were issues in our family business. He wanted to talk. My pulse quickened. This was it, the opportunity to expose the truth in a way my family couldn't bury. But I wasn't ready yet. Not without tightening every last loose end. I closed my laptop and looked out at the dark lake reflecting the moon. This time, I whispered to myself, I'm taking my life back on my terms. And when I returned, Sienna would never see it coming. I returned to the city after my trip to the archives feeling like I was carrying a grenade with the pin already pulled. Every document, every sloppily forged signature was proof that my family, the people I once loved without hesitation, had built an entire system of lies just to erase me from my own story. And the worst part? They did it quietly, methodically, without even attempting a real conversation. I sat in my apartment, the folders spread out on the table, and a single thought kept looping through my mind. They planned this for years. Not a fight, not a moment of anger. No, it was a long, patient strategy. They were removing me slowly and surgically, like an unwanted piece in their perfect family puzzle.
My phone rang.
The caller ID made my stomach twist. My mother. I didn't want to pick up, but I did. Marta, we're worried. You've been acting strange. Strange? You rewrote the entire inheritance behind my back. Don't start. It's not exactly like that. Then how? The system glitched? The signatures signed themselves? Witnesses appeared out of thin air. Silence. A long one. And then she said the sentence that finally broke something inside me. It was better for everyone. Everyone. Except me. The daughter she raised, loved, and betrayed. I turned off the phone, shoved it into a drawer, and made my decision. They weren't getting my tears anymore. They were getting consequences. I needed witnesses, real ones. Not the people my Uncle Roman bribed, but those who truly knew the history of the estate, the original agreements, the work I did there since childhood. My first stop was Lada, our former housekeeper. She had spent 3 decades with our family and knew the truth better than anyone. She opened the door and immediately tensed. Marta? I thought they told you not to speak to me. That's exactly why I'm here. She let me inside. The house smelled like pie and mint, scents of my childhood. You found out, didn't you? She asked.
Yes.
And I need your help. She sighed, looked at her hands for a long moment, then said, I'll tell you everything. They act like the estate is their trophy. But your father wanted it to be yours. My throat tightened, but I didn't let myself cry. We went through everything. She gave me a written statement, the contact of the neighbor who saw my uncle near the notary's office the day the documents were forged, and an old copy of the will, the one they tried to destroy, but she had secretly photographed. I walked out of her house not as a victim, but as a strategist. I did exactly what they feared the most, took everything public. But not with scandal. With precision. I reached out to a journalist I knew, an investigative reporter specializing in real estate fraud and inheritance manipulation. I didn't give her names yet, but I gave her facts, dates, documents, and context. Her article came out 2 days later. The headline was short and lethal. The Architect Disinherited: How Family Schemes Really Work. I didn't expect it to go viral.
But it did.
People were furious. This is unbelievable. How can a family do this to their own daughter? Hope she fights back. And that's when my family panicked. The calls started immediately, my mother, my uncle, my cousin, even my sister. I didn't pick up. Because this time, I wasn't running. This time they were. I didn't return to the estate quietly. I returned like someone who had finally learned the value of her own voice and wasn't afraid to use it. The morning I drove through the iron gates, the winter sun cut across the courtyard, lighting up the old stone walls. Everything looked smaller than I remembered. Not physically, emotionally. I realized I'd spent my whole life believing this place had power over me. It didn't. Not anymore. The renovated east wing towered above the rest of the property, like a promise I intended to fulfill. My studio would live there. My future would live there. My past, however, was waiting. Marissa stormed out of the main house before I even opened my car door. "So you finally crawled back," she snapped, arms crossed tightly. "What? Did your little disappearing act fail? Running out of money? Out of men to manipulate? What do you want now?" Her voice didn't shake, but her eyes did. I smiled, calm in a way I'd never been with her. "I came back for what's mine. And to show you what happens when a ghost decides she's done being dead." She flinched, just slightly. "Good." Behind her, Aunt Lydia appeared, pale and exhausted, like she hadn't slept in weeks. "Clara, you shouldn't have come." "I absolutely should have," I said. "And you know it." But I didn't walk toward them. I walked toward the barn. Because he was there. Daniel. The only person who had never deserved to be tangled in this family's lies. When he stepped outside, wiping dust from his hands, his whole body froze. "Clara?" His voice cracked on my name. "You're actually here." "I told you I would come back," I said softly. He laughed, breathless and overwhelmed. "I didn't think you meant it." "I always meant it," I whispered. For a moment, just a moment, the world felt whole again. But the estate had its own gravity, pulling us back into the storm. Inside the house, I faced them all. Grandmother Eleanor, sitting in her velvet chair like a queen awaiting a confession. Marissa, vibrating with anger. Aunt Lydia, trembling between guilt and fear. The folder in my hand, my weapon, my shield, felt heavier than stone. Grandmother's gaze cut through me. "So, the prodigal daughter returns. With paperwork, I assume?" I lowered the folder onto the table. I had the entire will re-examined. The signatures on the new version were forged. Marissa's breath hitched. Lydia's knees buckled. "You can't prove that," Marissa barked. Too fast, too desperate. "I already did." I slid a document across the table. "The forensic analyst confirmed it. The police will get the full package this afternoon." Lydia broke. "Clara, please, I didn't want to." She forced me. "Save it," I said quietly. "You made your choices." Grandmother tapped her cane. "Then what do you want, Clara? Money? Control?" "No," I said. "I want the truth restored, and the estate returned to how the original will intended." Marissa lunged forward. Over my dead body. I looked at her with a kind of pity I hadn't known I could feel. "Marissa, it was never yours." Her eyes filled with a rage, so sharp it almost looked like grief. Grandmother inhaled deeply.
"Fine. You win."
"The estate returns to you. But don't expect forgiveness from this family." I straightened my shoulders. "I'm not here for forgiveness. I'm here for closure." The next month passed in a blur of construction, planning, and rebuilding, not the estate, but myself. My architecture studio opened exactly 60 days later. Sunlight poured into the renovated East Wing, illuminating sketches pinned to the walls, models in progress, clients wandering through with admiration in their eyes. On opening day, Daniel stood beside me, leaning against the restored brick archway. "You did it," he said quietly.
"No. Y correcta."
I started it. He smiled, warm enough to soften every sharp edge in my chest. "So what now?" I exhaled, finally free. "Now? I live my life. My way. Without lies. Without fear. And without people who tried to bury me." He stepped closer. "And with people who want to stay?" I met his eyes. "Yes," I whispered. "With them, too." The estate behind us no longer felt like a cage. It felt like a beginning, mine. Because the forgotten daughter didn't just come back. She reclaimed everything they stole and built something greater on top of the ruins.